application paper asks you to read Chapter 3 on perception and watch one of two movies, The Terminal or Dances with Wolves. When you are done, write a paper in which you analyze the way language was both a barrier and a bridge in the movie you watched. Don't tell the story. In other words, I'm not interested in the plot or a retelling of the movie. However, the introduction of your paper is a great place to provide some background on the story and characters. The body of your paper should be used to analyze the behaviors, as if they were real-life behaviors you witnessed. You might discuss the ways you witnessed influences on perception, or some of the common tendencies in perception. Maybe you saw examples of characters engaging in perception checking or demonstrating empathy. Use as many specific examples as possible and discuss them in terms of the principles found in Chapter 3 of your text. Provide references to specific scenes. Use the characters' names, and use the terms you learned in the chapter with adequate explanation. Remember, 75% of the paper is a good goal for the body of your paper. A conclusion should be used to wrap up the paper and provide closure. A good measure of understanding is to mention what new information you learned from the chapter and how that information is useful to you in your professional or personal life. For extra help in writing a scholarly paper, see the resources and guidelines for writing outlined in the course Blackboard site. Your paper should be 500 words in length. At the top of your paper, I should find your name, the date, and a short title. Papers must have correct spelling, grammar, and sentence structure. I have provided a video example of how your paper may come together. Be mindful of the fact that all assignments must be submitted in a written format according to MLA or APA standards. In order to help students better recall and understand the material presented in the chapters in an online learning course, it is important that they produce work that can be evaluated to gauge student comprehension and expected outcomes. According to Choi and Johnson, 2005, among the various technologies currently available, video technology is suitable for context-based learning because it can convey the information or knowledge in a more interesting way and allows the portrayal of complicated contexts. In addition, compared with expository materials, stories and video can help learners easily understand and remember the content. Furthermore, superior learning occurs from video because of the combination of verbal and visual stimuli, as well as exposure to difficult-to-demonstrate material. The use of multimedia examples can provide an area of personal interest that can be transferred to the educational environment. I have chosen to analyze the concept of perception and interpersonal communication using the television show Scrubs. Scrubs is a sitcom that revolves around several medical students. The first concept I will be demonstrating through the interactions between the characters is interpretation. Adler and Proctor, 2007, explained that there are several factors that cause us to interpret an event in one way or another, including degree of involvement with the person, personal experience, assumptions about human behavior, attitude expectations, knowledge, self-concept, and relational satisfaction. In this scene, Lucy has cheated, but everyone suspects that Cole is the culprit. If we look closer at Drew, we can see how his interpretation of Cole and Lucy influences his perception of his friends and the situation. Drew works with both, but he has a more detached perspective of Cole, so it makes more sense that he would want his relationship with Lucy to stay intact because he perceives it as a more valuable relationship. His personal experience has shown him that in general, Lucy is very professional, whereas Cole has more flimsy morals and a more careless attitude. This is reflected in the line in which Drew exclaims that there is little surprise that the cheater cheated. He has made an assumption about human behavior that many of us often do, one being that people don't change, and two being that we have a tendency to trust first impressions. His expectations are that Cole is simply following the same path that he has, to get him where he is and will not change his behavior or
I was
attitude.
the one who cheated.
Drew is also
Are you
trusting
sure?
his own
Because
perception
we're
of
all
Lucy,
signed off
that she is a
on Cole
perfectionist
taking
and
the
an
blame.
overachiever,
Yes, I
and
did.
cheating is outside of her
I hate
normal
myself
exhibited
for it. I'm
behavior.
so sorry.
Based on
Just
Drew's
that I
knowledge
am
of both
drowning here.
individual characters,
Ever
as
since
well
I
as his
got
own
to med school,
self-concept, which
everything's
is
been a
high,
struggle.
he believes he has
I
made the
wanted to
correct
win.
assumption based on his
Something I
interpretation
could
of the situation
tell my
and
mom
those
about
involved.
without
If
being
his
full of
assumption is
crap.
correct,
I'm
then
really
Drew can
sorry,
comfortably accept his own
truly, for
perceptions of
putting you all through
events
this,
and feel more comfortable with the outcome
I'll go tell Dr.
because
Cox
the
that I
identified roles fit better, and he will have relational satisfaction.
Hey, work buddy.
Hey.
You have a sec?
Yeah. What do you want to do? You want to play a quick hide the saltine?
The second
Maybe
scene
giant
is an
black
example
doctor?
of gender roles.
Damn, those
Gender
never sounded
roles
dirty
are
with
those
JD.
behaviors that
Yes,
are
they do.
predicated by the role
Actually,
that
I was hoping
society
I
has
could
outlined
get a little
according to
advice.
informal
Tell
rules.
mama your problems,
These rules
baby.
are often determined by a joint
having
idea of
relationship
how
issues with
people,
Drew.
men and women,
I
should
know.
act.
Just what to do.
While Elliot is a very traditional feminine
I'm out.
character,
Okay,
Denise
so
is
he
more
made a comment
androgynous.
about wanting you to look
While
nice,
she
and
appears
then you blew
feminine,
him off and
many
mocked
of the
him.
behaviors
called him a
she
girl.
displays are more
Fantastic.
masculine.
Okay.
For
Does Drew ever
instance,
do
she is
anything
very
nice for you?
strong and
Yeah, all the
defensive.
time.
She
And do
creates
you ever do anything
barriers
for
by
him?
holding people
Oh, no.
at a
Who wants to travel
distance
down that
and
road?
not letting people see
Denise,
her
like it or
softer
not, you're in a
side.
relationship.
By
Sometimes you have to
taking
do things
Elliot's
you don't want to do,
advice
like
and showing that
dressing
she
nice.
does care
Or
about
in my
Drew,
case, going to
by
the zoo
presenting
twice
a
a
more
month.
feminine
I still
manner of
don't know why
behavior,
JD is so
she is
obsessed
being
with
asked
those
to
damn
adapt to a
penguins.
more
It's
recognized
because they
and
look like little
approved gender
formal
role.
people. We like to
Adapting
think
in this
they're
way can open
British.
communication
figure out
between
then
her
stay
and
out.
Drew
Fine.
and allow for a bridge to be built.
So to make
She
Drew
may
happy, I have
find
to start
that
wearing
she
tutus
doesn't
and
have to
prom dresses.
conform
That would
to
look
society's
adorable,
expectations,
Just
but she can
tell
still
him something
embrace her
sexy once in a while,
femininity
you
in
know?
a healthy way.
Show him you care.
Anyone fancy a swim? Ah. What? That's how they sound.
It's the way they sound. Where are you going?
In the last interaction, JD and Elliot showcase the common tendencies and perception that many of us have. A self-serving bias occurs when we tell ourselves the truth as we see it, to put ourselves in the best light. JD and Elliot do this when they comment that they were not going to be like other married couples. They have seen other married couples struggle and have problems. We pay more attention to others' negative characteristics. So it is difficult for JD and Elliot to admit that the problems that everyone has may be problems that they will also encounter. This fear of negativity causes us to try to save face by telling ourselves it will be different. This bias in looking at oneself and taking responsibility for one's actions can lead to breakup and more problems. Acknowledging that people are different and others are not similar to us can help in reacting to problems early on. If we can understand the intricacies of individuals and not tend to make perception errors, we can start from a new place and better understand interpersonal communication and its role in relationships.
Okay, I don't have time for this.